How to heal ancestral karma and trauma. It's all connected. And as with all things in life, there will be a nuanced answer for each individual. Because no individual path looks the same as another. Least of all, ancestral karma healing journeys. So please allow these suggestions to become like doorways that take you onto deeper and further explorations, and never let them be the end. But before we continue here, let me know in the comments, do you feel that weight of ancestral karma? And at the end of the day, because you are the very incarnation of your ancestors, you are the very key to unlocking these knowledges, wisdoms, and healing pathways for your particular journey. First, you must acknowledge that you actually already have a sense of what needs healing. It most likely shows up in the recurring toxic patterns in your life, such as, but not exclusive to, toxic romantic relationship dynamics, narratives around abandonment, lack of self-worth or inadequacies, complexes around your body or sexual traumas, and or those annoying patterns you see playing out in your parents, probably the things that annoy you the most, especially those limiting belief systems, the ones they've affirmed at you your entire life. So spend some time sitting and reflecting on this. Spend some time journaling on this. And dig into what it is that you have possibly inherited in terms of your ancestral karma and or trauma. And even if you are adopted or you've never even met your parents, you can still do this work, because once again, you are the very key, and probably your first clue is that wound around abandonment. Most likely that's been flowing through the ancestral line many generations. Other ways to access this knowledge is through modalities such as meditation, hypnosis, or other trance-like states, including shamanic journeying or even working hand in hand with a trusted shaman, and or of course a psychic. To work with shamanic journeying, you might work hand in hand with a shaman, or you might work with pre-recorded meditations or recordings, if you know what to do already. You can also talk directly to your ancestors, asking them to help you bring the answers through. Be sure, however, to only invoke the ancient healed ancestors of your line. There's no need to be plagued at night in dreams by all of your ancestors who are traumatized and want help. The ancient ones can be the buffer. And darlings, they know what's going on. They'll be able to help you. And of course, once you have asked, be sure to practice presence and to watch out in your daily life for signs, signals, and information coming through. Also, pay attention to your dream space. This is always a potent way for the ancestors to speak to you. Another important way that they speak to you is through triggers, especially if you're asking, what needs to be healed? Often the trigger happens quite soon. And once you have a good idea of what needs to be healed, you can start finding the right pathways for you to invoke that healing. And of course, once again, you can ask for the aid and assistance directly from your ancestors, asking them to communicate with you what pathways to follow for that healing. You might continue to work with a shaman hand in hand. You might feel called to certain energy modalities, energy medicines. You might do inner child work. You may even step into activist work. It is essential to acknowledge here that your ancestors live in your blood and your bones. You are their very incarnation. So any work, healing work or otherwise, or pattern shifting that you do in your life, or any work with your physical body, is healing for the entire bloodline. This means that powerful yoga session you did, or that beautiful Reiki healing thing you went for, all of that is powerful for your ancestors as well. And of course, when you respond in new ways to triggers and you alter certain patterns in your life, you again do that for the entire bloodline. And sometimes this is why it's actually so challenging to shift those patterns, because the momentum of so many others sits behind it. It's more than just your lifetime. So this has all been quite useful in terms of interpersonal trauma, or having experienced certain kinds of oppressions or abuse in childhood, etc., or lived through, poverty or famine or genocide, etc. However, in the case of having inflicted harm upon others, there may be a different approach. And of course, here we're talking about lineages who have contributed towards colonialism, slave trade, slave ownership, amongst other forms of oppression. Or even if the violence was not so direct, but somehow they've benefited from those systems of oppression. In this case, it may be useful to go to protests, to raise awareness, to enter into activist work, or even raise money, donate money to people who are suffering the same kinds of oppressions. All of this can aid in releasing that ancestral karma and bringing good energy into the world, and of course bringing about a sense of balance. And here it's important for us to remember our connection to all beings. To help another to heal is to heal ourselves. To campaign for another, to advocate for another, is to campaign and advocate for ourselves, for our own humanness, to bring about and invoke a sense of human dignity for all peoples. This heals us too. This brings us back into dignity too. There is profound dehumanization in oppressive systems on both sides, both the oppressed and the oppressor. And in the case of the oppressor, their souls can become so lost and fragmented, and this causes a pain like none other, as they have distanced themselves so far from the truth of which they are, which is love and connected to all beings. As for the oppressed, the level of pain and trauma is unfathomable. Feelings of worthlessness completely debilitate self-expression and place limitation on the soul's journey. And this manifests as deep difficulties, one of them being around boundary setting. And of course, this is just one example of how this can play out. In the case here, stepping into sovereignty, stepping into dignity, and really fully embodying self-love is necessary for the healing journey. It's also really important to note here that most of us have both archetypes within our bloodlines of the oppressed and the oppressor. And deep forgiveness is needed on both sides. But sometimes this task of forgiveness can just seem too large, because some things just seem completely unforgivable. So my suggestion here is actually to forget about forgiveness and just go on that healing journey. Forgiveness will be a natural outcome when the healing has gone far enough. At some point, simply so much healing has occurred that forgiveness is already there, that there is so much love and compassion and connection once again, that forgiveness is not even a thought. It's not even words that are necessary. It just unfolds energetically. And it comes in when we can really truly step into compassion and see ourselves and see each other with those eyes of true love. And of course, if you are interested in taking your healing journey a little bit deeper, a little bit more seriously, come and join the Psychic Development Program. We hold a lot of space for healing here. Of course, what is the point of psychic development if we're not going to use it to heal and step into a role of service for humanity? Link in bio or description below. And of course, let us know, what do you think of ancestral karma and